The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 720. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is the host of Heroes Roar podcast, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sara Porritt. Sara, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, sure. I'm doing awesome. Home from work, sitting in front of the sunset here in my room in New York City. So you're right, Sheena. I host the Heroes Roar podcast. It features the stories of Asian American women who have journeyed down the road not taken. During the day, I actually work in media and advertising, primarily specializing in digital, but also some planning and strategy. But I have a lot of side hustles. So I am also a newly certified yoga teacher and an R&B singer. I was an R&B singer for many, many years of my life. So I have a vast array of interests.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Sara, what's your cultural background?
So my cultural background is Chinese. I speak Mandarin. I was actually born in a little island off the southeast coast of China called Xiamen. If you ever get a chance to visit China, that's definitely the spot to check out. It's really chill, palm trees, really beautiful architecture, an awesome place to grow up right by the beach.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
So I really love this question. It made me think about what really impacted me. And I think the quote that I felt like I was most drawn to in answering this question was a quote that most people wouldn't know about because it actually happened within the context of a workshop. So I was in LA at this summit, at this conference called the Summit, and I took a workshop by this master storyteller named Rebecca Walker. And she really challenged everyone in the room to take a look at how they felt about themselves. And then she challenged all of us to think about all the narratives that we tell about ourselves in our head. So all those different storylines that in our heads make up who we feel like we are as individuals. And then she challenged us to figure out whether or not those narratives were actually true to who we were. And I thought that that was such a powerful exercise. And she essentially implored us to break apart those ideas to gauge their true validity. And she asked the room to, quote, dwell in the vastness of our infinite potential and never look back. And I just thought that that was such a powerful quote because I loved thinking of myself as being infinite. I actually have tattoos that say on one side of my body, fearless, and the other side, limitless, because I truly believe that when you're fearless, you're limitless. So if we're able to dwell in that vastness of our infinite potential and never look back, then I believe that we can accomplish anything that we set our hearts out to accomplish.
Thanks for sharing that. I really love that quote that you mentioned. Yeah, it's the first time I've heard it, but I think it's a great reminder that we do have this infinite potential. I think sometimes, especially as Asian women, we feel like we don't have it. Especially being programmed to just do one certain or live one certain way, it's like we can't do anything outside of that. And I think we just have to realize like we are more than we realize. We have more power than we realize. We can go out there and take action and do the things that we love. So thanks for sharing that. And Sara, what would be your definition of self-confidence?
So my definition is actually just trusting that I'm a loving human being. I think that I do my very best to work with what I have, be loving towards other people, be caring. And I need to just believe that if that's my method of going about life in a confident way, that the universe has my back, and recognize that a lot of the things that I'm fearful of are actually self-imposed. So every single day I try to just be as kind and as confident as possible and just take steps moving forward and let my heart lead and just have movement. I think, progress over perfection. I know it's a little bit cliche, but I really do try to live that as much as possible in my life.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think, that's a great definition, especially progress over perfection, because I know we get obsessed with trying to be perfect when it's something that doesn't exist. And, I always say practice makes progress. So I really like that you mentioned that. And what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
pretty stereotypical geek. I didn't speak English when I first came to the States, so I was definitely picked on, and I didn't even know how to fight back because I didn't have the right words to literally fight back. And I actually remember distinctly there was one time in the 4th or 5th grade, I was on the bus, and the seat next to mine was the last seat that was open. And this kid, he said, "Don't worry, guys, I'll take one for the team." And he ended up sitting next to me. So I definitely battled quite a lot with self-confidence, my own perception of whether or not I was beautiful, really kind of looking outwardly for someone to tell me how I should feel about myself. And I think as I've grown older, I've really just kind of let all of that sort of terrible ideology just crash and burn, and really just believe in who I am and believe that I am the only person who can dictate my own self-worth.
Thanks for sharing that. And what was that point in your life when you realized you were more than enough to go out there, and be who you are today, have that confidence? What was that aha moment?
So I think I continue to have aha moments. Even that conversation with Rebecca was an aha moment for me. But I actually dropped out of high school twice. So don't try this at home, kids. And it always makes me giggle when I say that, because technically the second time around I just finished high school early. But back in those days, I was so nerdy. I felt pretty badass saying that I dropped out of high school twice, even though, again, not like the best thing to say. And my big aha moment was actually both times when I decided to leave high school. I felt this ability to reinvent myself. So, going from wearing hand-me-downs in school and being called a nerd, and then all of a sudden being called to come to Brooklyn, New York from Gaithersburg, Maryland, to be a part of a girl group, and then donning, knee-high boots and a crop top. And I used to rock, believe it or not, cornrows and a bandana, and really just totally revamp my own self-image. And knowing that I can kind of pluck myself away from what I was in high school or what others perceive me to be, and completely reinvent myself in a way that I felt like was, I guess at that point in time, more interesting and true to who I wanted to be, was such a powerful moment and an aha moment for me.
Thanks for sharing that. It's just an example of showing like your past doesn't have to be your present or your future. You can be who you truly want to be. And yeah, not everyone's going to agree, and people might look at you funny, especially as an Asian woman, like donning a bandana and having cornrows, people and be like, what are you trying to do? But you know what? If it makes sense to you and it makes you happy, that's fine, right? I mean, self-expression is something that Asian people don't do, and it's just like not even in their vocabulary. But the more we can show others that we can express who we truly are, then more and more people will be able to do that as well. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
It's pretty great. I will say I still have my moments. Work can still be really, really stressful, but I definitely feel a lot more freedom. I feel freedom from judgment. I feel the freedom to take risks with my life. I feel the freedom to reinvent myself and to be able to do the things that I want to do without feeling the burden of, having the judgment of onlookers. I feel very courageous, and I feel like I am going down a path where I can hopefully encourage other women to do the same. So pretty excited about the next few months and the coming years.
Thanks for sharing that. To the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
Sure. I think a lot of people say to love yourself wholly. And I think a lot of times when that is said, it's not always in the context of loving the things about you that you feel like are maybe your positive attributes, but also your negative ones. I think we're all very unique individuals and eccentric and quirky in some ways. And it's wonderful if we can embrace the light as well as the dark, and just acknowledge that all comes together to create who we are as a complete human being. So I would just say love yourself wholly, all of it, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and just stop giving a crap about what anybody else thinks. And that's it.
Thanks for sharing that great tip. And I totally believe, agree with loving yourself, meaning to love all of you, the good, bad, and the ugly. I know I never used to do that. I never understood what loving yourself meant until, just doing this podcast and realizing like it's not just always about the good stuff, it's the good and the bad, and that's what makes us who we are. So thanks for sharing that great tip. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or check out your podcasts, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, sure. If you just Google Hear Us Roar podcast, or if you go to www.hurpodcast.com, you can find me on there. And then my Instagram is just my name, Sara Porritt, SaraPorritt. And Sheena, I just want to thank you so much for creating this podcast. I actually read through some of the Apple Podcast comments, and you're definitely changing people's lives. You're giving everyone so much encouragement, and you're really killing it as a Asian female podcaster, but just a podcaster in general. So thank you so much for having this platform as well.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate, the feedback. I mean, it's always been something that I've wanted to do, especially it's something that's needed in the Asian community, especially for Asian women. So thanks again. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Sara, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Sara's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And again, I just really want to thank Sara today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Want to learn how you can use podcasting to market your business? Download your free report by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.